Welcome to Geosynthetics Geotalk podcast, where we discuss geosynthetics and affiliated issues in civil and geotechnical engineering. I'm Chris Kelsey, editor of Geosynthetica.net. Waterway health and coastal resiliency are some of the most highly debated topics in infrastructure, as work in one locality or lack of addressing an issue in one locality can greatly impact another. This complicates permitting and finalizing a solution. Joe Little of Little Environments PLLC spent some years working in Australia, where geosynthetics have frequently been deployed in coastal applications. When he returned to the United States, he established his own practice and now draws upon experience and unique project approaches he finds all around the world to create locally sound and effective approaches to improving inland waterways, coastlines, and marine habitats. Geosynthetics continue to be one of his most effective tools. My guest today is Joseph Little. He's the principal of Little Environments PLLC. His company has been growing through various coastal and environmental applications and often using what might be called soft armor solutions, whether it's a geotextile bag or a geotextile tube. Joe, tell us a little bit about how you have moved into this market and helped grow your company with it.
Well, thank you for having me here today, Chris. We strive to apply innovation and look around the world to find out what's working on coastlines and what's not working on coastlines. And then we want to learn from what's working and what's not working. Going around the world is necessary, we find, in a coastal situation because there's only so much coastline. And you've got a lot of people in different areas that, and there are laws that limit it too, that they try to stay local with their design. And they try to stay local with using all the suppliers and information. But by reaching out around the world, you can access a wealth of more of information, and you can get more cost-effective designs. And you can say, well, this type of technology works better in this type of environment, or this type of, an alternative grid rock mattress may work in similar conditions very well, say, in Australia. Yeah. And you may have a unique piece of coastline that's very similar in the United States, North America. So.
Are you working primarily with ocean coastline, or are you also doing inland waterways with your coastline or your environmental work?
We are doing both.
Yeah.
We're doing both, and they are vastly different environments. But everybody thinks inland coastlines are less severe or subject to less forces. But at times you get conditions, say you get a huge hurricane coming through North Carolina, and that design parameter may be very similar just inland and on the waterway as it is on the open coast.
You also have a bit of a habitat restoration angle with this work. Can you describe that a little bit?
Well, resilient coastlines require resilient environments. There are a wealth of benefits that you can get from natural vegetation and natural fauna establishing. And if you can use the work that the environment is doing to help protect your coastline, say establishing an oyster reef sill, that oyster reef sill will continue to maintain itself. You may have to add a little bit of help, but in the long run, if you can give the environment that upper edge to establish and be strong and robust, then you can get very economical solutions where people tend to say to give up hope on protecting their property on a coastline.
Yeah. Can you give me a couple project examples?
Yeah, our first project we did up in Cape Cod was for the homeowner was very forward and innovative thinking. He was a nuclear engineer. And so what we did is he had an existing bluff that was 120 feet high. And his house was perched on top of that bluff, and the bluff was made entirely of sand with a little bit of clay content. And we provided stabilization at the bottom of the bluff using geocontainers.
Yeah.
But those geocontainers are there for the purpose of achieving stability in the short to medium term, so until the natural environment can take over.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the intent, is to stabilize it for, say, maybe 3 to 7 years. But once you get trees like your Virginian cedar, which are predominant all on the from Florida to Maine, once those roots get 15 feet into the ground, you've got a very, very strong natural solution.
Yeah. A year ago at the Geo Americas 2016 show, you were presenting a bit on creating reefs using these designs. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes. So what we did is we investigated how marine growth establishes on various geosynthetic components. And marine growth is you can have hard and soft marine growth, and you usually get a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. If you go and look under your average dock, we've been building floating docks with high-density polyethylene floating buoyancy beams for 40 years. And you look at that material and you've got great marine growth attaching to that. And by achieving the marine growth, you can improve the longevity of the geosynthetics in that marine application. Yeah. So you block the UV, the roots of the marine growth interact and lock in with it, say, in a staple fiber textile. And so you can get improved abrasion longevity too.
Now I know coastal and environmental, like waterway applications, is not exclusively what you do, but what's coming next for Little Environments then?
We've got a few things in the mix. About 20 to 30% of our work is environmental impact assessments, and we embrace environmental impact assessments by also consulting on the intent of the project and saying, hey, instead of just looking at this as the traditional phase project, you do an environmental impact assessment, then you do an engineering design, then you do a final design. We say, hey, let's start thinking about that final design, why we're evaluating this environment. And in doing so, you can look at some of the potential negative drawbacks of a site and say, how can we take this and turn this into a positive thing? Okay. From the outset, and it helps substantially reduce project cost.
Does that lead to some recommendations that may go back to the owner or an engineer or something?
Recommendations, and we try to have a large open forum. I think I like to look at engineering these days as, well, in the past, going from the 40s up to the late 90s, engineering was typically viewed as, all right, here are your drawings, take them, build them, what's next? Mm-hmm. We like to look at engineering as bringing in the entire team, bringing in all the stakeholders, talking about it, consulting on it, and making it a big conversation. Yeah. And in doing so, we can eliminate large risks that are associated with larger costs.
Okay. Promote, in a way, a sense of ownership for everyone involved.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We have a clause in a lot of our contracts that's based on camaraderie. Yeah. So it's my favorite French-derived word.
Joe Little, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Chris, and thank you as well.
For more information on Little Environments' work, visit www.littleenvironments.com. And we've got more resources for you in our podcast article. Visit www.geosynthetica.net. Click on the Media tab. Thank you for listening.